Mm-hmm.
Which winery was that?
It's a winery in Salem.
Not Amrine?
It's
Yeah,
Amaranth.
Amaranth.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Amaranth.
and
Because
one
that's
of
a
the-
jeweler.
one of the guys just does the winery now. And I don't know that he remembers him or remember them talking about him, because he kind of had a wholesale place, and I remember Dad taking me up there where you could go in and buy. The jurors would even go in and buy things from him. So. Because he's too young to have remembered Dad.
Yeah.
So you were in college. Which college was that?
Longwood
Longwood.
in Farmville, Virginia. The one that Farmville is the one that shut down their school systems when they were told to integrate. And they had private schools full of white kids, but no schools full of blacks.
About when was that?
Hmm?
About when was that? In order to
In
integrate?
the 50s when they...
I wasn't there at that time, but we were not allowed to go downtown on Saturdays when we were at Longwood.
Why is that?
Maybe because all the blacks came to town. I don't know. It's certainly possible.
You also had to be dressed up, didn't you? When you did go to town?
Well, yeah, we were supposed to have on skirts and everything, not shorts or anything. And when we went to the dining room, we were supposed to be dressed. Often we had on pajamas underneath those skirts, but
She went back and forth on 611
Okay.
N&W Railway.
yeah.
Pocahontas.
Powhatan
I'm
Arrow.
sorry, Powhatan Arrow.
Yeah, so I wrote that a whole lot. It was the Pocahontas coming back.
What was
It
it?
was the Powhatan Arrow going to Richmond or wherever it went, and coming back it was the Pocahontas.
Passenger trains.
So I don't have a great desire to go. I'd like to see it run, but to ride on it because I rode on it. And you had to get off really quick because it just stopped in Farmville just a few minutes, just enough to get you off, and it was gone. So,
What were you studying at Longwood?
medical technology.
And what year did you graduate?
Well, I didn't graduate because I went 2 years and then 1 year at Medical College of Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't have a BS. Now you have to have a BS to be a medical technologist. But I did not have a BS, but I was a registered medical technologist. Now, what was his wife's name?
Jenny.
Jeannie.
Oh, Steve's wife's name, Jeannie. Is she a medical technologist? Jenna. You're talking about
Jenna.
Chris.
Chris,
Right,
Chris's
right.
wife.
we eventually
Yeah,
figured it
Chris's
out.
wife, Jenna.
She's a medical technologist. Now, she went 4 years to Tech, and then 1 year at one of the ones in Roanoke. So, but it's so different now. And she says you just put things in a machine and it does all the work for you. They don't have to do all the pipetting and all the stuff that we did.
Right.
but I'm sure it's more accurate.
Yeah.
But
You did all the pipetting and cleaning of the tools, which you used over and over again. What do you call it?
Sterilization.
well, they
You heated them up in
yeah,
the oven,
Is it autoclave?
autoclave.
autoclave.
Yeah. Yeah, we even had to sharpen. Well, we didn't do it. The woman who washed the dishes and everything did it. Sharpened the needles,
The syringes.
and then they were autoclaved. So the needles often had little hooks on them, and it did not feel good. I mean, it's all the difference in the world now with these needles they stick you with.
You don't
Throw
even
'em
feel
away.
them.
Yep, use them once, throw them away.
Hmm.
So,
So some of the pictures that I've scanned of you are you and your friend up on the Parkway. I think it's the Blue Ridge Parkway.
well, I think it was Suzanne, and I think we were on the lookout at over Newcastle.
Okay. That's part of the Blue Ridge Parkway, or is it a different?
No, it's when you go up, when you get to Newcastle, and then you turn up 42, and then
Okay.
and you're going on up like you were going to Giles. You go on my grandparents' house. There's a lookout, a brick wall where we're sitting on the brick wall about this high.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, some sort of wall.
Uh-huh. Suzanne, she and I went to school together, and she worked at Craig Healing one summer. So that was the summer we went to work at Craig Healing.
So you worked there with Suzanne.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
That was in between college years, college sessions.
That
or?
was summertime.
Right.
Yeah.
From college or high school?
From high school
That's what I
through
thought.
college.
But those photos, do you remember if that was high school or college?
That was high school and then college. And the last year of high school, when I graduated, I couldn't go over there because I had to start school at MCV early in the summer because this was a 12-year course, 12-month course.
So Craig Healing or Healy?
Healing,
How do you spell that?
Healing.
Okay, so that was what? So what was that exactly?
Well, it was a resort
Yeah,
with
spring-
mineral
Hot
water,
spring.
and it was just there. The picture above your bed downstairs was painted by the woman that owned Craig Healing. She and her husband did. We waited tables, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I went over a little bit in high school during busy season when we were off, like
Christmas,
Labor Day.
Labor Day.
and things like that.
Her Aunt Mary,
Aunt Mary,
what did she do over there?
she was a hostess,
Okay.
but I never worked with Aunt Mary being the hostess. Mary Meredith was a hostess the years I was there, but Aunt Mary would come over.
Mm-hmm.
But that was Suzanne Garst.
Garst.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's still over there.
It's a Brethren, Camp of the Brethren now.
Brethren Church bought it.
So it's a retreat kind of thing. Was it like Berkeley Springs, or it was Mineral Springs, natural mineral springs, where you
Mm-hmm.
you know soak in the spring water for its presumed health benefits?
Yeah. They had one room where, another building where there were tubs and people soaked in it and they got massages and everything. And the pamphlet for it, I wish I had kept one because it talked about all the miraculous cures that it would do over here.
That's right.
But the food was very good and it was interesting. Got paid $1 a day and room and board and food,
A whole dollar.
a whole dollar, and whatever tips that your customers gave you.
So you started doing that at the end of high school, which would have been what year?
And the end of the next year.
But what year?
Oh, I graduated in '53.
Okay.
Probably
So
probably
that's
started about
summer.
1950 when you went over.
I probably did. I was a little timid person then when I went over there and was scared of the miners would come over from West Virginia. They weren't miners, they were mine owners and so forth
Okay.
like that.
Coal miners.
Coal miners. And you'd have to put your skirt, your belt on, your apron on real tight because they had a habit of dropping money down you. And I just didn't even want to get anywhere near them. They
I'm
were
sure.
scaring me. So, but they kind of calmed down in their old age by the end of the time I went over there. I never had to wait on them. I waited on the staff. And so, of course, I didn't get tips those times I was over there.
Yeah, we've driven over there and had a look, and springs are still running, and that
Yeah.
type of thing. It's kind of interesting.
Mother worked over there the last year I worked there. My dad had died then, and she worked over there in the office.
What did she do in the office? What was her thing?
Well, I guess
Was it bookkeeping
registering
or?
people that came in and that kind of stuff.
Okay. And Aunt Mary, you said worked there as well
She was
during the summer.
the hostess in the dining room.
What did she teach during the school year? Wasn't she a teacher?
Oh yeah, I think I'm not sure what year. I believe the 4th grade, but I'm not sure. At Washington School, where I went, but she didn't teach when I was there.
Where I went to,
Yeah.
Wasina.
Had she retired by the time? No, she couldn't have retired by the time you went there. Did she move on to a different school or what?
Well, I don't know.
I remember what I remember of Aunt Mary is that she was always traveling.
Oh yeah, she traveled everywhere, and she'd say, "Aunt Mary, how are you doing today?" "Not very well, thank you." That was always her answer to it.
Really?
So,
I don't remember that.
but she died maybe before she was at retired age.
I think she'd already retired. I don't know.
I don't know. She had cancer of the uterus, and they treated it with putting uranium in, and she was to go home, and she got up out of bed to get dressed, and she dropped over dead. But Jiggs, who was my cousin's husband, who was a doctor, said it's a good thing because it would have been a long, drawn out thing.
What year did she pass?
Weren't we married?
Yeah, we were married. I don't know when it would have been.
Well, I remember her, so it was definitely after
After you were born. then.
I was born and old enough to remember her trips. I remember she went to Alaska, I think was the last place that I remember on a cruise.
She went somewhere every summer. Some neat trip.
She attended Radford College, didn't she?
Yes.
Yeah, we've got the information on some books from college, I guess. Her books and comments and friends. Again, somewhere.
Downstairs in that.
Uh-huh. Huh. But Betty went to, where did she go to school?
Longwood.
To Longwood
She
also?
also went to Longwood.
She had to
She had to quit so you could go
quit
to
a
school.
year early so I could go to college. Because they couldn't put two of us through college. And college was relatively inexpensive then as compared to now. But my dad never made much money. And mother was working at, first she worked at Virginia Heights as a secretary in the office. Then she worked at Monroe, and I guess doing the same thing. And so Betty had to quit, and Betty came home, and she was able to teach
Mm-hmm.
because a good friend of mother's was secretary to Mr. McCorkle, who was head of the school system. So she was able to teach, but she had to go to summer school and take classes.
To bring her accreditation.
And she
up.
eventually went, no, she didn't go back and finish at Longwood, but she eventually got her BS. So,
When did she and Charlie marry? They married before you guys?
Mm-hmm. Just a year or two before.
just a
Oh,
year
okay.
or two before.
Did Aunt Betty always just substitute teach, or did she teach
No,
full time
she
for a while?
taught full time at Wassing School,
Okay.
and then she did substitute teach after she got married.
And started a family and all that. What did she teach?
Elementary school.
Just general studies, I guess, in elementary levels.
I don't remember what grade, but she taught down there with Aunt Mary was still teaching then. But I don't know when Aunt Mary quit teaching.
She must have done something after she quit teaching. If she didn't retire at that time,
I don't
did she
know.
go into school administration or something like that?
Aunt Mary, huh? No?
Because my memory is that she always traveled in between school on summer.
Yeah. That's what she did, was in between school. I think you went over to the cemetery with us when, over on Sinking Creek, when Aunt Mary died. She had a funeral at the Methodist Church on Grandin Road, and then we all went over to Sinking Creek.
It kind of rings a bell. When did she die?
I don't know, the Bible's downstairs. It ought to be in it.
Was I out of the house at that point? Had I left the house, or one
I
of the
think
times I left the
maybe
house?
you were.
That kind of rings a bell. Like maybe I was living on 7th Street at the
You may
time.
have been.
I drove by 7th Street today.
Did you?
Yeah, and I couldn't figure. I think the house that we lived in has been restored. I think that's the one. I think the one that was restored is the one we lived in. The one next to it hadn't been restored yet. I'm pretty sure that's where Satan lived. That was his name. He had his name on the
What name?
Satan.
Acres?
Satan.
Oh, Satan.
Had his name Satan on his mailbox.
Oh,
He was actually a nice enough guy. I think he was a biker. And then the house next to that was all boarded up. Looked like it was about to collapse.
well, no, wasn't one of those houses.
The house on the corner is where Grand Sally lived for a while.
One on the corner is where Dr. Huff's house.
And that doesn't appear to be in use right now.
It's a museum or something, or some
Well, the
library
signage,
or something.
the signage still said, still implied it was an adult home. But there were lots of no trespassing signs up, and no one was there, so I think it's empty, currently empty. And there was actually a for sale sign in front.
Dr. I.E. Huff, and his wife was sister to William Henry. Yeah, I believe sister to William Henry Francis.
One thing in yesterday's reunion, I'm looking at the slideshow. I think it was Davis mentioned that when Grand Sally's picture came up, you know, it's the photo of her and Henry.
Mm-hmm.
He said she was 15 at that point. Does that sound right to you?
I don't know. I didn't know she was that young.
When,
I
were
know-
they
was
married
really
young?
young.
They were married very young. Or were they married at that point? I always assumed that the two were married. Those were marriage photos.
Yeah.
Um,
He came to Roanoke and boarded at 915 Patterson Avenue. That was, of course,
It's her mother's house.
her mother's house, Davis. Right,
Is it Anna? Where's
Anna
that?
Davis Mayo,
Okay.
the Mayo family. The engineer for the NW. And they boarded people in that house. And Henry boarded. He came from Floyd and worked for the Roanoke Times as I think doing print work,
Like a press center.
print setter. I think that's at the time. Interesting, in that house on 915 Patterson also lived a couple at one time. The man was the engineer who set up the streetcar systems in Roanoke, Richmond, Birmingham, but they lived there. And somewhere I've got the information on that family. Can't remember who they were now.
yeah, I think Sally was a little young in that picture.
I didn't realize she was that young when you got married, but I can see that it's certainly a possibility.
She looks young. I mean, they both look pretty young.
Well, he had been married before,
Oh yeah, he'd been married.
and he had a son.
Mm-hmm.
who lived then with his grandfather.
And he and his grandfather wrecked a car and killed him about 1937.
What? So what was the story
1927.
there? Was his first wife? Did he divorce his first wife, or did she die? Or
I think he divorced.
yeah, well, that was pretty rare, wasn't it, back then?
Would think so too. Don't know much about it. Again, some of the history's in that big bag over there. But yeah, I think he went to. I don't know the history at the Roanoke Times, but the folks who owned the Roanoke Times or built it lived up a street, you know, on 10th Street. And Grand Sally, they mixed socially.
Mm-hmm.
Fishburns, the Fishburn family, which is that big house on 10th Street that the city's let run down real bad.
The one that was left to the city.
Uh-huh.
They
Oh.
have let it run down.
It's almost where Campbell Avenue meets 10th Street. And that Presbyterian church is a block behind them or something. And they were Presbyterians. I think that's probably where they met. I don't know.
The Mayos were Presbyterians.
Hmm?
The Mayos were Presbyterians. Grand Sally's family.
Well, I don't know whether the Mayos were, but I can remember going to that Presbyterian church at Christmas and Easter and so forth. And one of the Mayos was a major for the First Presbyterian Church on South Jefferson Street.
Was a what?
One of the major
Oh.
members, well, I don't know what you call them, but
I thought you said it was a major, and I thought when the churches started having majors.
no, the church where your mother ran across.
Oh.
Ran what?
Betty was going to teach Mother to drive. Mother was not, she couldn't use, she'd have trouble using a microwave or a toaster oven even. She just wasn't inclined that way.
Right.
So they were driving over, and Mother was driving in there, and something startled her, and she turned and drove up the bushes in the churchyard.
Did she hit a cross out front, or is that what you said?
I don't know.
She just, something startled her, and
And that was it. No more. No
no
more
more.
driving.
Betty didn't take her in. I would have never taken her, because I knew she wasn't. She just, some people are meant to drive, and some people are not.
Mm-hmm. I remember taking the bus with her when I was staying with her. Taking the bus places.
Taking a what?
Taking the bus.
Bus.
Walking up around the corner, catching the bus. But I also remember Grandfather Johnson's car in the garage. But I don't think I ever saw it except through the cracks in the door. So I don't remember what.
I thought he had
That
sold
was.
it by
By
then.
the time of your age, I thought it was gone too.
No, I remember.
Seemed like
it.
I remember seeing it maybe one time. But
Oh, we had the picture of it where it ran wrecked the
in the
car.
races.
Yeah.
Was that the car that Grandma was driving?
No,
And she-
it was Betty's
It was
car.
Betty's
She had a Plymouth sedan, didn't she?
Uh-huh.
Like maybe a 46 or something.
I don't know,
Plymouth
not the
50
one
Plymouth.
we got.
Uh-uh.